So in respiration in higher plants, we already have covered the very first step, which is the glycolysis, isn't it? So glycolysis, the production of pyruvic acid or pyruvate from glucose, that particular process is already being covered. We already learned about it. Now comes the next process. Means actually the entire thing is divided in three steps, because the production of ATP also occurs in three different steps. First is the substrate level phosphorylation within the glycolysis, as you can see here, it's pointed out. Second process will be the one taking place in the mitochondria via the process of citric acid cycle, which we will be discussing today. And third is actually the oxidative phosphorylation that will take place, that too also in the mitochondria, by the process of like electron transport system and the chemiosmosis. So that process also produces the adenosine triphosphate. So these three places we are going to find adenosine triphosphate being produced, and we are going to talk about that all three different steps in detail. So step number 1 has already been dealt with. So today we'll be talking about step number 2. So the very first thing that is going to happen in the process of like step number 2, before like entering into the step number 2, by the way, the respiration process, all three steps together, right? Now we are just discussing it in three different parts. So the first thing, as you know, the glycolysis, it actually happened in the cytosol. So now the pyruvic acids are being produced. If you remember, per glucose releases 2 pyruvic acid. Now this 2 pyruvic acid that is being formed there, it needs to be transported to the mitochondria, because inside the mitochondria the remainder of all the steps are going to take place. So to reach mitochondria, it has to be transported, and that transportation is all mediated by two different steps. First, it will be the oxidation of the pyruvic acid taking place, and the second, there will be a coenzyme responsible for the transport. So let me tell you what actually happened during this time. The pyruvic acid, as you can see, the structure is shown here, it actually lose its one of the carbon. It's a 3 carbon structure, so it lose one of the carbon with 2 oxygen as it was attached to it. It actually detach itself, means it actually is removed from there, and then we get this carbon dioxide being released from it. And at the same time, one NAD, nicotinamide adenine dinucleotide molecule, is getting reduced to NADH and H plus, and at that time it is actually like getting converted to the pyruvic acid is getting converted to pyruvate acetyl molecule, which is CH3COO. This acetyl molecule, it's a 2 carbon structure, and there will be this enzyme, this coenzyme A. This molecule is going to adhere to it. Here you can see the adherence happening, and this entire structure, this acetyl CoA, is now going to be allowed by the transport protein to enter into the mitochondria. So that means, first of all, the pyruvic or the pyruvate needs to be converted to the acetyl CoA, and once it actually happens, then this acetyl CoA will be allowed to transport inside. So this is how the entire process of the oxidation of the pyruvic acid is going to take place. That means, if we talk about if we consider one glucose molecule as our startup, then we can say 2 pyruvic acid or 2 pyruvate were formed, and hence it means there will be 2 acetyl CoA that will be released here, or that will be allowed to enter the mitochondria, and at the same time there will be release of 2 carbon dioxide molecule also taking place, and 2 NADH molecule is going to be produced. Now why I am talking about this will be dealt when we talk about the third process, the third step. That time I will be discussing about what is the requirement of this NADH, why this NADH is important. Okay, so this is actually the like the first part of the second step, which is called the oxidation of pyruvic acid. Alright, now once this acetyl CoA is being produced due to the oxidation, this acetyl CoA now will enter into the pathway which is known as the citric acid cycle. right there. Okay, it's known as the citric acid cycle, or the TCA cycle, as the citric acid molecule is a 3-carbon structure, so it's a tricarboxylic acid cycle. Or this process also goes by the name of the scientist who actually discovered it, or this, like is called the Krebs cycle, Kreb apostrophe S, Krebs cycle. All right, so let me tell you about this actually step, what actually happens there. There you see the acetyl CoA molecule is entering the entire citric acid cycle. Okay, so this is mediated by the citrate synthase enzyme. This enzyme is responsible for this. Now once it enters, it actually the coenzyme A that is there, the coenzyme A is going to be released. Okay, it's going to be released there. Now one thing I must say, you need not to learn about all these different stepwise names and everything. All right, because I mean the diagrams are not necessary, because I'm showing you the diagram to make you understand what actually it looks like and all. But in reality you don't need to learn about the diagram, because that is beyond your scope of your syllabus. Okay, so you will write by the name itself. So first of all, the acetyl CoA is entering, releasing the CoA SH, which is the coenzyme itself. All right, and here you can see the citric acid or the citrate has been formed. So this is the generation or the synthesis of the citrate taking place. That's why in a way it's like citrate synthase is the name of the enzyme that is being working here. Okay, the second process is going to be a dehydration or rehydration type of state, in which the dehydration step, why I'm saying, is because water is going to be released. By the way, let me tell you one thing, many of the steps are reversible type, like you can see it's shown here as it's a reversible type of step. So you need not to learn about that in detail. I mean this reversible step we are not going to learn about. The reverse step we are only going to learn about the forward reaction, so which is like the citric acid getting converted to cis aconitate. Okay, though this one is not going to be necessary, I'll tell you later on, but yeah, this is going to be formed. So we are going just forward reaction. Okay, so it's like release of the water is going to take place here. All right, now release of the water in the first step, and then followed by rehydration, means again that water molecule is going to be absorbed by it. This actually lead to formation of citrate to isocitrate molecule. Okay, and isocitrate is slightly different. Why? Because isocitrate is actually a 4-carbon structure. Okay, it's a 4 sorry, I made a mistake here. I just like wrongly I said it's a 4-carbon structure. Actually what I meant to say is that it is not a 4-carbon, none of this is actually a 4-carbon structure. Okay, they are all as you can see, the 6-carbon molecule, this entire molecule is of 6 carbon, but the rearrangement is actually taking place right there. Okay, means instead of like this 3CH2, means you can say it's like alkyl backbone that was there holding one like carboxylic acid group with it, with each of them. Here in the third case, that carboxylic acid group, instead of staying there, it actually made a little rearrangement of it, the molecule. It lose the double bond between it, and it became a hydroxyl here, and the carboxyl group is coming here. Means it's actually the double bond is being lost in this particular step. All right, so this hydration, this like dehydration and then followed by the rehydration step, is actually producing the isocitrate molecule, which is slight variation of the original structure. Now once this structure is formed, this isocitrate is being produced. This isocitrate is now going to be converted to a molecule that is known as alpha ketoglutarate. This molecule, alpha ketoglutarate, and this alpha ketoglutarate is actually a very important molecule. Keep in mind it's an important molecule, because we have to talk about that in a complete separate video. It requires a different video for it. All right, so alpha ketoglutarate is actually an important molecule here that is formed from the isocitrate. It's actually a decarboxylation step because this is the step where one of the carbon dioxide, carboxylic acid group will be converted to carbon dioxide and is going to be released right there, as you can see. And then the rest of the molecule that is going to be there will now get converted into another structure known as the succinate. It's going to be converted into this acid called the succinic acid. Okay, and for this step to happen, there is this succinyl CoA synthetase molecule is going to be responsible. So it's like actually slight movement of the succinate acid is going to take place. Okay, so for that carriage, the coenzyme A is again going to come here and is going to help in this entire process, but the conversion is going to produce GTP, as you can see right here, GTP, guanosine triphosphate. Now let me tell you something about guanosine triphosphate. It is actually known as the secondary energy currency of the body. Alright, as we know, ATP is the main currency, energy currency. GTP is the alternate energy currency, and GTP has a tendency that it itself can work as an energy currency, that is true, but GTP has the property to donate its third phosphate group to an adenosine diphosphate. That means a GTP can directly convert ADP into ATP. That is one of the property of the GTP that is there. Alright. So GTP we can do that. So in a way we can say ATP is being released in this step also. Means GTP is going to produce ATP. So ATP is released in this particular step. Alright. That is first generation of ATP that is taking place here. Now once the succinic acid is formed, then we are going to find the succinate dehydrogenase enzyme. Another important enzyme name here right here is called succinate dehydrogenase. The succinate dehydrogenase is going to convert the succinic acid into fumaric acid or the fumarate. Alright, and then the fumarate is going to get converted to malic acid here, malic acid, which gets converted to oxaloacetate, which is the acetyl CoA acceptor. So that means it is stepwise conversion of this molecule is taking place, means succinate to further all the other molecule is actually taking place. Now right there, right during that process where succinic acid is getting converted to fumaric acid, there will be release of FADH2 that is going to take place right here. FADH2 is going to be released, and let me tell you one more thing. It is that this succinic dehydrogenase is actually the connection between the step number 2, which is the TCA cycle or the Krebs cycle, and step number 3, which is the electron transport chain in the mitochondria. Succinate dehydrogenase, this particular enzyme, is actually a member of the ETC pathway also. Okay, so that means right there is the connection between step number 2 and step number 3. Okay, so once that actually happens and we get oxaloacetic acid finally as a product, this will again accept another acetyl CoA and entire cycle will now continue. So what we are getting is via this entire cycle, we are getting carbon dioxide being released right there. Alright, per molecule carbon dioxide released right there and right there. Okay, means in the alpha ketoglutarate right there you can see another carbon dioxide being released. So 2 carbon dioxide that is there or 2 carbon that is entering by the acetyl molecule, they are getting released right in this 2 step. Alright, and once this 2 CO2 is being produced, this is actually one molecule of acetyl CoA. If you keep in mind, it's one molecule of acetyl CoA. Similarly, another molecule of acetyl CoA is also going to come because there are 2 pyruvic acid and there will be 2 acetyl CoA that will be there. Means 2 type steps will take place, 2 times this entire step will take place, releasing total 4 CO2, releasing total 2 ATP right there, and 2 FADH2. Now also per molecule of this conversion, there will be release of 3 NADH also taking place. Alright, so there will be NADH also being released right in this particular step. The many of a time the NADH will also be used in certain steps, but no, this actually will be used in different steps. So we are going to discuss about that in a different video. But here in the process, one time the cycle continue, we are going to see release of 3 NADH taking place right there. Okay. So that will be the entire output of the acetyl CoA. All right, I'm sorry, the citric acid cycle. Per acetyl CoA, there will be 3 NADH released, 1 FADH2 released, ATP is released, which is in the form of GTP definitely, but ATP is released, and then 2 CO2 will also get released from this process. All right, so the next video will be about the process of oxidative phosphorylation. I must emphasize one more time that in your book this entire diagram is given in a very simple manner, simplified manner. You should read by that only, because that is within the, like, that is your main syllabus, that is a part of your syllabus. You need not to learn it in detailed diagram as I have shown you here. I have shown you the diagram just for you people to understand. All right, so you are not going to follow this diagram or this type of diagram, rather you will only follow the diagram that is given in your book. All right, you may introduce the name of the enzymes in the steps that are written there. All right, because that is something that may be missing, or maybe it's modified now. Updated books may be containing the name of the enzymes now, because previously it was not there. Previous print versions, they don't have that. Now the current versions, as I know, that they have already written the name of the enzymes. It is missing there. All right, so you should write the name of the enzymes in between all of the name of the enzymes. All right, so that will be all for today's video. Thank you.